you Google Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association, you may see an old website. So you do want to make sure you go to the gowada.org/page/2914. That will get you to the registration page. You'll also find that WADA does have a block of rooms reserved for attendees at the workshop, and you need to register for your attendee gift. And then there are also many LTI courses available.
Okay, new ADs. There is also a new AD session at the WADA conference. Probably a little bit of review of what you had if you came up here, but again, that was probably pretty overwhelming for you at that time. I think you're going to appreciate just touching base with the new athletic directors in the state at the WADA conference as well. One thing I can assure you is that this is time well spent out of the office. You are going to connect with a lot of people. You're going to have a ton of very useful information. It's always tough to think about being gone because you know what's going to be waiting for you when you get back, but it really is well worth it. Please give a call to our office if you have any questions. We can help you out, or any of the WADA organization as well. We'll be happy to assist a new AD with registration for the conference. Just real quick, looking at their webpage, to find the fall conference info, you have to go to development, and it's underneath there. So everything that you would need here regarding breakout sessions, keynote speakers, LTI courses, hotel information is all there for you, as well as future dates. You know, this year is a little later than normal for the WADA conference, but again, you're going to want to get these dates on your calendar for future years.
Yeah, that's a big thing. This is a week later than normal, so as you look for 2017, it will be the week prior. Usually coordinates with the start of the basketball season. I would remind you that there is an attendee gift that you have to sign up for. So make sure you get that in, and notice that the deadline for that is also October 28th. There is a conference schedule here as well, so you can actually begin to plan on what sessions you might want to attend, because there is some overlap and sometimes you can't get to everything. But this is a great conference. It's a great opportunity to network with people in your conference, get to know them a little bit better. Sometimes the social aspects of this conference really make you feel good about where you're at, and as you hear some of the issues that others have. In addition, it's become a family event. Having it at the Kalahari Resort and Convention Center has allowed families to come in on Saturday, bring their spouses and kids, and have some downtime before we start into the 5 months of the winter sports season. So hopefully you can all join us.
Don't forget to tell them about bowling.
And on Monday night, we have our bowling tournament, which is held in conjunction with Monday Night Football. So get together, get a team entered into the bowling tournament. Don't need to bring any bowling balls. They're available at the Kalahari, but hope we see you get involved in that. It's really become a fun activity. I think last year, out of the 24 lanes, we had 20 different lanes with different teams, and it has really become a big social event at the conference. The other big part of the conference is the vendor area. Many of you are probably purchasing from companies that you know a name and you have a contact, but you've never met the individual. The vendor area is a great opportunity for you to wander around and look at all the different things that are available for sale, and also put a name to a face with a vendor. So great opportunity. We hope that all of you are able to join us at the WADA conference in November.
I'm still laughing at the fact that for 25 minutes, Deb and I were recording a video and there was nobody there the whole time. So it's hilarious. Do any of you have questions about the WADA conference or things you want to add to that?
By the way, we were pretty awesome for that 25 minutes too. So hopefully we're just as good for you. All right, let's move on.
The winter, you guys are gearing up for the winter code meeting. I know as a parent, I'll be heading to my son's winter code meeting on October 31st. So you've had a chance to do one run of that this fall, and now you've got a second chance. Hopefully you've decided if there are things that you really liked from the first time and things you want to tweak a little bit for the second go around. Remember, this is your opportunity to get in front of your parents, your coaches, and your student athletes all in one group. And so the message comes directly from you. Take advantage of that. Make sure you tell them what you want them to hear as far as expectations. If you've considered the Award of Excellence, remember that's one of the check boxes, that you do take the opportunity to share a message of sportsmanship, leadership, ethics to your large group settings. This is one opportunity to do that as well and check that box off the list. We did share with you that we've got preseason checklists. If you would like those, contact one of us or a colleague of yours for a preseason checklist that you can cover with your coaches to make sure that you are on the same page as they are before your season gets rolling. One suggestion I would make is to make sure you've always got a copy of their handbook or whatever their team expectations are. You want to make sure that you are well aware of what coaches are expecting of their players, their parents, their team, and to make sure that it's philosophically in line with what you as an athletic director and your school district believes in as well. Remember, we talked at the new AD workshop briefly about the season regulations. You should have your winter season regs in hand by now. That's another great talking point for those preseason meetings for you and your head coach. Some of them are veterans, and so there's not a lot new in there for them, but the gray shaded areas are brand new for this winter season. Deb's got some key things in basketball that are changing this year. Make sure that you share those with your coach so that you are on the same page. You will also be getting a specific email coming from our office. It's from Wade, Tom, Deb, and I, and the message will come from Deb. And that will really highlight the things that you need to know as an athletic director as you head into your winter seasons about changes in each one of those winter sports. Now, this is different than what the coaches see in their video. The coaches and officials get a lot of information in those rules videos. The athletic directors don't get that. So this is one way for us to share that with you. Again, it's going to be a lot less detailed as a rules video, but more or less kind of just what an AD really needs to know.
Okay, let's move on.
Whoops, sorry about that.
One at a time, Steph, one at a time. The winter sports season is your long season. It's about 5 months from the beginning of basketball till the end. So you want to find a way to give yourself a break. It's too long a season for any of you to try to take it on by yourself. So find a way to find someone to cover for you on certain nights. Try to get your principal involved in covering ball games as well, so he or she has the opportunity to know what that time commitment is at night. You probably now know from the fall season who your go-to people are, who the supervisors are that you want in charge when you're not there. But please try to find a way to give yourself a break during the course of the winter so you're not standing in the gym 2-3 nights a week. Also, when you know you're going to have a big game on the road, who's going to cover that? Are you going to stay home and your principal maybe goes on the road, or another associate principal, assistant principal? When you've got a big event out of your own building, try to find a way to cover that as well, just in case something comes up. And you know what those big games are, you know, your arch rival or a game for the conference title, whatever, big crowd, lots of kids traveling as well. Try to have some adult supervision at that game, so if there's issues, your colleague has someone to go to at that event. Pay attention to your student behavior, and I'm going to reference this right to the sport of basketball, which becomes a big one during the winter. Have some parameters for your kids. Indoor events are much different than outdoor events in that you hear everything once you go inside. So make sure that you have some things in mind as how you're going to control your students. Many athletic directors require that their students stay off the playing floor. They must be up in the bleachers. And I can tell you that's probably a really good thing to consider doing, because once you let them on the floor, pretty soon they're on to the actual playing floor, and that's where you begin to have problems. So get them up on the bleachers, make them stand on the bottom row. I'll tell you, a lot of times they're going to fall off there, but then right away they're going to jump right back up and say, I didn't do it, or whatever. But you want to have some parameters for your kids once you get going in basketball, so that you know what you want done and they do as well.
Before we get to that last point, I wanted to just add on to that. One of the suggestions I would offer is that you look ahead to the WIA tournament procedures for host and see what the guidelines are for each sport. For example, cowbells, allowed or not allowed to the WIA tournament series in basketball?
Not allowed.
Not allowed. Cowbells are not allowed. So I would recommend to you to adopt those same procedures during the regular season. It's a lot easier to just start right from the get-go and have your kids follow those than try to change that come tournament series. So again, I would encourage you to look ahead, maybe talk with your school administration to make sure that you agree about that, and probably use those guidelines all season long. It will help you when it comes to tournament time.
And the other thing is as you have visitors in your gym, you want to identify in that visitor student section who's your go-to person, especially if they don't have an adult supervisor with them. Introduce yourself to those students, find out who the ringleader is, and then establish some type of relationship so that if something gets a little bit out of line, you can simply go over and say, hey, you know, we don't do that here, and things are under your control, and you don't have to, you know, get upset and all worked up if something isn't right. You need to address inappropriate behavior when you see it, whether it's from your kids or the visitors that you have from another school. So be aggressive, be friendly, but you know, stick to your guns and let people know what your expectations are. And finally, in the event you have a big event or a big game in your venue, it's not bad to get a uniformed police officer on site and visible. A lot of us know that on Friday night, people like to go out for fish, have a beverage or two, and then come to the ball game. When that's outside for football, a lot of times you don't detect that alcohol on your fans' breath. But inside, sometimes that becomes a little bit more visible. But when they see an officer standing in a uniform, people tend, hopefully, to still respect a lot of that and will act appropriately. And so, you know, think about the visibility of a uniformed officer at big events.
One line that I think is always well received by the opposing student section is when you come over before the game even starts, you say, who's in charge over here? Who's in charge? Who am I going to come to if I need some help? And believe me, you're always going to have that guy in the front row or gal with their hand up. They want to be in charge. And so, you know, you kind of outline your expectations in your field house, and it's a great way to get some buy-in from them right off the bat. So think about using that line. Who's in charge over here? Any questions on what we've covered so far? Okay, let's just talk about wrapping up your fall season, as that is rapidly approaching. In fact, done in some sports. Golf is done already.
It's done, yeah.
Again, you might want to have a checklist to go through with your coaches just to make sure they've completed all of their postseason wrap-up responsibilities, ranking their officials. Some coaches like to wait until the very end. Just touch base and make sure that they are done with that. They've done their required rules video and exam. You have completed your coaches' evaluations, and you may also survey those teams and have team members do a coach survey for additional input. You want to have the inventory all checked in, any uniform repairs, things like that. Talk about next year's schedule. Now is the time to renew contracts for non-conference schedules for next fall. So you don't want to wait until the summertime. That's a time that it's hard to get a hold of anybody. So again, right now is the time to be talking about next fall's schedule. And then really, it's a great time to sit down with your coach and do some coaching with them. So if there were things that came up during the season, you know, this is a non-confrontational way for you to sit down and really talk about. A great lead-in line is, so tell me how the season went. How did things go? How did you feel about things? How did you feel about the buy-in from your kids? Did you feel like there were any issues that came up? And it's a great time to problem solve with your coach and talk about things that they would like to see better for next year. Might be also a great opportunity for you to help them set some professional goals with regard to their entire athletic, their program and their coaching goals. So again, it's really a wrap-up time. It's more of a collaboration time for the two of you to work together to continually seek to make that program better.
And I think it's a great time for you to sit down with your coach, and especially many of you who are in smaller schools, to make them understand the value of 3 sport athletes. and that now, your season is completed and they have moved on to a new season. They need to be somewhat respectful of that kid in the winter sports seasons, and that sure, things can still be done, but time to let them go now and give them some room. And probably the most important thing is to support those kids in their new sport, so that the fall coaches are now supporting the kids in the winter sports. That's a big deal anymore, to get your coaches to buy into the need to support their kids in other sports and other extracurriculars, whether it's the fall musical, band, competition, forensics, whatever it happens to be. Kids like to see their athletic coaches supporting them in their other activities. And now that the fall seasons and fall sports are winding down, try to get your fall coaches to buy into that concept and begin to turn that over in your school, so you have coaches supporting each other and supporting the other activities going on in your school.
Good point. All right. Hopefully you are gearing up some teams that have had very successful regular seasons, and you're hoping that they'll go deep in the playoffs. So let's talk about some key things to think about as you're prepping for that postseason time. Pay close attention to the bracket that your team is in, sites, times, conflicts. There is always flexibility on our end of things with regard to game times when there are specific school conflicts that come up. Your soccer team and your volleyball team both play on a Thursday night. Just be in communication with our office. We are reasonable. We want to help you resolve those conflicts. Specifically, you'll get emails from our office. Pay close attention to those as the tournament time leads up, just reminding you of key things you should be thinking about. We don't want to see a school eliminated from our tournament series because you really just didn't read through the materials that were pertinent to those postseason with regard to roster size or using eligible athletes. So again, really read those closely. Don't just cast those aside. Those are important ones. Stay in communication with your administrative team. Make sure that all of you are on the same page. And I say all of you. If you're a large school, you've got probably 4 or 5 of you. If you're a small school, it may just be you and your principal. But stay in close communication as that tournament series proceeds, so you are working together on releases from school, coordinating spectator buses, coordinating parent permission slips, coordinating on the roads crowd supervision. All of those things that you're going to really want your supervisor in your corner and helping you with. You'll get requests from our team, our office, for photos and rosters of your team to use in the state tournament programs. You may want to look at those real early preseason photos that were taken and ask yourself if those are still accurate, if those are the ones that you want to be in that state tournament memory that will be there for everyone. Is there someone on there that has now quit the team? Is there someone on there that had been suspended and is not going to be eligible? So think about maybe taking a new team photo as well.
Yeah, the other thing that we didn't put on our list here is stats. For the state tournament programs, your coach will be asked to provide stats. And we've had many ADs kind of fall on the sword to get stats in and haven't made their coaches responsible for some of these things. And ADs really get frazzled when, we have to have it by Wednesday at noon and your coach doesn't even have his or her stats figured out. So you all know that if you've got a good team and the potential exists for them to maybe make it to state, get the work done ahead of time, get on people right away, and don't get down to the nth hour here and be pulling your hair out. We've all been there. We've all done that. And after you do it once, you'll never do it again. So as new ADs, we're trying to give you a tip here to get ahead of the curve on this state tournament prep, because boy, it can be frazzling when all of a sudden WIA is calling every 10 minutes wondering where your stuff is.
It's a really fun time of the year to be an athletic director that postseason, but it is really stressful. All worth it in the end, though. I assure you it is. Here are some key things we want to talk to you about if your team does indeed qualify for the state tournament. And again, work with your direct supervisor and your head coach as well to coordinate all of these things. Your ticket sales. Many of the sports, you'll receive tickets from our office to pre-sell to your spectators. So you'll get that, you'll see an invoice. Just give us a call if there's anything in those packets that seem confusing to you. Again, you're going to want to make travel arrangements. Some of you may want to travel by coach bus. You've got a booster club that's going to kick in a little extra money for you to travel by coach. So be thinking about those things. Overnight accommodations. Again, in some sports, those overnight accommodations will be arranged from our office. I shouldn't say arranged, assigned from our office, but yet you will be the one that will call the hotel and make the arrangements. So work out with your business office how you're going to take care of payment for that. Tax exempt status is important to make sure the hotel has that from you. Again, we talked about releasing from school. Work with your administrators to decide if it's going to be an all-school release, if it's just going to be some spectator buses going down, how the logistics will work for that. Performance groups. I learned the hard way. You don't want your performance groups to feel like they're being left out. You get so caught up in making sure that your team is ready and your coach is ready that sometimes you forget about those other groups, that this is a really important, exciting time for them as well. So you'll notice, say if it's the basketball tournament packet that you get, you'll see there are pages specifically geared towards your cheerleading advisor, your band, your POMs or performance dance team. Make them feel a part of it and include them in your planning as well. We always ask for volunteers for the national anthem singers. If you've got a student that'd be willing to do that, would love to have you volunteer their services at the state tournament. Find somebody that you know that has been an athletic director that has sent a team to the state tournament, and really just call them up. Every AD is so willing to share because we each went through it the first time. So reach out to a colleague in your conference or a nearby school that you know can give you some help because they've been through it before.
And every sport's a little bit different. You know, I do soccer, Steph does volleyball, and Wade does football, which are the bigger team sports, and probably what we're talking about more so in this slide than the other sports. And not that they're better or anything, but they're just a bigger package. In soccer, we don't assign hotels. You're responsible for finding your own lodging in Milwaukee. In Green Bay, I believe they're assigned, and I also believe in football they get assigned. So every sport's a little bit different. So kind of, you know, brush up a little bit on what is out there. You can go to each of our sport pages and go to the tournament information pages, and there usually is a state tournament document that will walk you through a lot of this information. So again, you all kind of know if you've got a team that's got an opportunity or a chance to make it to the state tournament. Start working on that now. As you know, we're seeding soccer and volleyball right now. Football will be next, but kind of get ahead of the curve on this because it can be quite demanding on your time.
How are we doing out there? Any questions? Okay, and I think this is our last slide. The question really is, how are you doing? You are a few months into this and really want to know how you are doing. So at this time, before we even talk about our slide, can you guys just kind of let us know, how are you doing and what have you found that helps you kind of keep the craziness at bay and keep some balance in your life with your family and friends? Anybody want to volunteer to go first? You have to unmute your microphone to do so.
You see somebody's trying to talk.
All right, well, let's just go on, and please feel free to interrupt if you, let me see here if I can see you. Okay, you are all muted. So, I'm gonna unmute you on this end. Oh. Okay, I unmuted you. If there's anybody that would like to, oh, somebody's got band going on. That was Sue.
That would be me, sorry.
That was awesome. Come on, come on, don't be shy. Tell us how things are going.
He says things are good. Me personally, I'm doing fine, just trying to get a handle of everything that's happening. The whole football playoff and how that all works was really confusing, but the old AD is still around, so he's helped me through that.
Good. Glad to hear that, Ryan. Joe or Sue, how are you guys doing?
One thing, one thing that we probably cannot stress enough, and I don't use that word intentionally, but really the stress does get to be overwhelming at times. It is a very stressful job. It's very unique, as we've shared with you many times. And the key is finding balance. It's really important that you find things that work for you, whether that's your workout routine, whether it's going fishing, whether it's deer hunting, whether it's reading a book. Find things that work for you. The other thing too that I would recommend is, your cell phone is always in your hand, and that is really nice. And it is important for your coaches to know that you can be reached in an emergency, but you also have to have enough discipline to know that you do not need to respond to every single email immediately. You don't have to answer every single call. Use your judgment and make sure you're being fair to yourself and fair to your family and friends as well, that you're not letting it consume all of your time 24/7, because this type of job really can.
That's a huge point, because I was one that used to go home and have my cell phone by me at night when I was sitting watching TV or just doing whatever. And I would respond to emails pretty much 24/7. I've now trained myself to maybe take a look at what's come in on email and then decide, what, that can wait till tomorrow. Or if it comes in over the weekend, it can wait till Monday. And then people begin to respect your time as well. But if you respond immediately all the time, then there becomes that expectation you will do that. So really try to find a way to get away from your cell phone, even at night. When you do go to bed, put it out in the kitchen or keep it away from you, because you have to get away from that thing. Otherwise, it will drive you nuts. Another thing, we want to make sure that somehow you find somebody else in your building that can be a key person that you can rely on to give yourself a break. Can't stress enough how long a season winter can be. And people get burned out, people get sick. You've got to find a way to get yourself out of the building and spend some time with your family, or just take a Friday night and take your spouse out for fish. So try to start that right from the get-go as a new AD, because if you jump in and you try to do it all, everybody's going to expect that that's going to be the way it is as you move forward in your career. So try to establish some parameters that allow you some flexibility to get out of there every now and then. And then finally, communication. We get this thrown at us at every Board of Control meeting from our representative from the School Board Association, saying that school boards aren't being kept informed, that superintendents don't know what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. So please attempt to have a relationship so that you're communicating things about athletic to your principals and superintendent and to the colleagues in your building. Not that athletics has to be the number one thing in your high school, but make it a priority, keep people informed, and then again, also respect and support the other extracurricular programs going on in your school.
That communication piece is really helpful as well, with specifically related to the stress relief we talked about. Having a superintendent or a principal that you know well enough that you can go in, you can close the door, and you can kick the garbage can, so to speak, at times, because you just need a vent. It's a lot easier burden to carry when you have someone to share it with. So when you're dealing with a particularly tough code violation or a particularly tough situation with a coach, don't go at it alone. Find that key person, like your principal or your superintendent, that you can share that with. They can help you make decisions. It is a lot easier to tackle in a strong team rather than all by yourself. So hang in there, reach out to people. You're not on your own.
So thanks for joining us today. Our next meeting is going to be on Wednesday, December 14th. We will try to send out the invitation correctly. That's my bad on that. We will try to get in the right meeting ourselves. Probably my bad on that as well. But we're going to try again December 14 at 1 o'clock. Our topics will be budgets, awards, scheduling, revision of handbooks, athletic code, and facility planning. So we hope to see you at the WADA convention. Good luck to your teams as you continue into the tournaments for many of our sports. And if we can ever be of assistance, please give us a call. We're here to help you.
Is there anything else anybody needs right now before we stop the meeting? If so, we'll just wait for a minute to see if you've got anything else. All right, it was awesome. Thank you for being with us today. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There's the band guy.